So I do have a confession to make. I have bought some books and some non-books that are kind of also related to books, but I'm going to explain that to you and I want to share them with you because a little book haul every now and then never hurt nobody. First of all, I did show these two already to you, so I'm just going to show them to you again because I did buy these two beautiful, stunning notebooks by Notebook Therapy. I just really like the idea of a reading journal because I don't like tracking my books on a reading tracker. I think those apps they're just stress inducing to me and I get so competitive with those things and I don't want reading to be competitive. I'm already doing my best not to do that. And so a reading tracker would not be the most conducive thing for that, which is why I don't do that on purpose. But up to this point, I've only just been keeping manual lists on my phone, which I hate. I don't like being on my phone and I would like to be more analog. I'm on a mission to make my life as analog as possible. And I think a reading journal is the best thing to do with that. Not only because it's an analog way of keeping up with what I'm reading and just sharing my thoughts with myself about what I'm reading, but also just because it combines my two favorite things, which is art and just reading, basically books and art. I can do so many art-related things in a reading journal. I would really love to do that, and I'm so excited for it, and I bought these two. One of them will be my reading journal, and one of them will be my new sketchbook, because I've been on the lookout for a new sketchbook, because all of mine are full, and I really want a cute one this time. I always use these really basic black ones that they do the job, but they're not pretty at all, and I want a pretty sketchbook. And now to get into the books. The first one being this copy of Salem's Lot by Stephen King, which is a book I have now read twice, but I did not own it physically, and I did not like that. Also, I just love this edition. Then I also bought Carrie, also by Stephen King, which is one of the books of his that I've really been wanting to read. It's a shorter one, which is nice after all of the chunkers of his I've read recently. Next, we have Interview with a Vampire, which I am currently reading. I am literally on page 7. Very far into it. So many people have been recommending this to me, and it's perfect for this time of the year. So of course I had to buy this, and I am enjoying it thus far. Next, I bought Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I have already read. I loved it so much, and I was so happy when I got my hands on this because this is a used copy. I got it for so cheap, and the reason I haven't bought it yet, which is gonna seem ridiculous to most of you probably, but I had never found an edition of it that I actually liked because I think most of them are really ugly, and I don't want to read it in this huge chunky hardcover. I don't know. I just wanted it in a little mass market paperback. And I saw this and I fell in love, and they had one used and I needed it and I bought it and I loved it. Then this is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Other Stories by Washington Irving. Washington Irving wrote my favorite Christmas story of all time, which is Old Christmas. I love that book. I reread that book every December. It is just stunning. And I don't know why I have not read anything else by him yet, but it is October, or it's gonna be. For me, it's still September, but very soon it's gonna be October. So I need to read at least The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but of course I'm gonna read all of these stories. But that is the one I've heard the most about. It's supposed to be perfectly spooky and gothic and just perfect for the Halloween times of the year, which is now, so that is great. And so I bought this. These are the Arcturus classics. I don't know. I have Old Christmas in this edition, so I needed the other one in that same edition as well because I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. Then I, of course, also had to buy Carmilla, The Origin of the Vampiric Story. This is the book that inspired Dracula, and it is kind of sapphic, I think. I'm very, very curious to read this, and I'm savoring it for like the later weeks of October. I think that's a good time to read this, and it's gonna be great. I've also heard very good things about this one. And then I have 4, which I am so grateful because my mom recently went to America and she went book shopping for me. Can you believe it? She bought me books from America. There are so many books that you just cannot get here, at least not for a reasonable price, and not in the editions I want them in. And so she bought books for me and she surprised me with some. I didn't ask for most of these, but the first one I did actually ask for because she went to this used bookstore. Look at this. This is Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman in the most stunning edition I have ever seen it in. I feel so lucky that I now own it because this is something I could have never bought. I did not even know this edition existed. So this is Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. You probably know that Han Kang is one of my favorite authors, and my mom did something. She bought me 2 Korean editions of her books. This gray one is the white book, and this is Sensation, which as far as I know is just a collection of short stories and possibly poems of Han Kang's in Korean, which I can read Korean and I can understand some, but I'm not nearly fluent enough or secure enough in the language to actually read these properly. But I think specifically the white book is actually a kind of a great way to study that language because the text on that is so short and the chapters are so short, and I have the English edition as well, so maybe I can brush up on my Korean, learn some more Korean reading that, because that would be kind of a life goal of mine, to be able to read Han Kang in her original language. These are, even if I never actually manage to get to a point where I can properly actually read them, just the fact that I now own them. These are 2 of my trophy books now, and I think they're so pretty. Finally, one more, also from America, from a used bookstore in America. This is The Letters of J.R.R. Tolkien. Is anybody surprised? I love Tolkien. And this chunker is just letters that he wrote that I cannot wait to read. I love it. I'm so happy about this one as well. It's going right on my Tolkien shelf. Those were the books I have recently acquired, and the notebooks I have recently acquired, which I am also so happy about. So yeah, thanks for listening. Now we're gonna get back into it. again. So first of all, I have a bit of a reading update for you because I read up to, I think, page 116, An Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice, which is the book I am currently in the middle of, obviously. To tell you what it's about first, because only then will it really make sense what I'm about to say, this is the story of Louis, who's a vampire, who at the beginning of the story sits down with this random dude, this random young boy, and he basically asks the young boy to record him while he tells him his life story. And that is what this is. It's just Louis telling us his life story. And up to the point where I'm at now, I've found out how he became a vampire, his first years as a vampire, how he's met Lestat, the vampire who turned him, and their very complicated relationship. And I have now been introduced and gotten to know Claudia, what I assume to be the third main character, but I'm not really sure. I'm not far enough into the book to actually say that for certain, but I know Claudia is going to be a main person here. And honestly, I think maybe my expectations were too high. But other than the writing, I'm not really having a great time with this story because I find Louis insufferable. I do not like him. I think he has such a high opinion of himself, and he keeps making Lestat out to be the bad guy, but at least Lestat is upfront about how bad he is. Louis is just a bad dude who thinks he's a good dude and who puts all of the responsibility for his bad deeds on Lestat for no reason, because he's just as at fault for all of the things that are going on here as Lestat is. Now we're at the point where Claudia has been introduced, as I said, and that is disgusting to read about. I knew that this whole concept of turning a 5-year-old girl into a vampire was going to come with some moral ambiguity and probably dilemmas. I was aware that the way she was depicted in this story is a bit iffy, but I was hoping it was going to wait a bit because technically, mentally, physically, this girl is still 5 years old at the time I am reading about her currently. But the way she is already being described and talked about by Louis, a grown man, it's really disgusting. It's giving me a stomach ache, and it's making the story quite a bit less enjoyable than I had hoped it would be. I still have hope. I'm gonna continue reading it, of course. I love Lestat. He's my favorite thus far. So for him alone, I want to know what happens next. I know it's really popular, and I'm hoping it's gonna get better. Who knows? The writing is stunning. That I must say. The writing and the atmosphere is beautiful, and it is engaging. And I want to know what happens next. And Lestat is the one keeping me in the story. So we're gonna see what I end up thinking about this one. But that is it for the reading updates. What I also wanted to talk to you about was I want to show you some stickers I bought because I did go a little bit crazy and buy quite a few of them way up close and personal so you can actually see. Okay, we're gonna do a quick fire here. First sticker sheet. Pumpkin, so cute. Then we have a little autumn wood kind of situation. A winter wood kind of situation. I just find the animals so adorable on those. Then reading ghosts. Honestly, this is one of my favorites. The other I'm going to show you right away because then we have these mushrooms. Aren't they just adorable? Then we have these wintry houses, which I basically only bought for the trees because I think those are really cute. Then some snowmen, because everyone needs some snowmen in their lives. Then some jack-o'-lanterns. Obviously, they needed to be here for October. And one that I literally bought. I mean, the entire thing is cute. But this little guy here, this little duck, is it focusing? Now it is. Look at him, he's so sweet. Just for him, I had to pick that one up too. And that is all. I also got this free one in my order, which is this. And I'm thinking of putting him on my computer because he's just so cute and I want to see him all the time. Those were my stickers.
Okay, so it's been a minute. I got really sick, so if I sound a little funny and maybe look a bit rougher than usual, that is why. But I did still want to talk to you about some of the things I've been reading and doing because first of all, that portrait, I did finish it. I didn't finish it on camera because I I just had to change and tweak some little things, but I think it's now at a point where I'm not 100% happy with it, but I think it's not gonna get any better. At least not in the next few months. Maybe I'll stare at it some more, and then in a few months I decide to change it more. That happens sometimes with me. But I think I'm at a point with it where I'm content, at least, if not happy. I do want to wait until it's dry because then I can hang it, I can frame it and hang it, and then that whole thingy will be complete. I did finish the first pages of my journal. I filmed some of it, but most of it I had to film off camera because some of the pens I wanted to use were not yet here when I was filming. But I did want to show it to you because I am very happy with it. And let me just tell you, it's making me so happy to have this little opportunity to do all of the doodles my heart desires and to make these little artistic, although they're very primitive, honestly. But I have so much fun decorating these pages and just making little highlight pages of my month. For now, though, I can just show you the first pages. Let me get in a bit closer so you can actually see. This is the title page here. Can you see? I think you can. There. Then for September, I had to change some things. I think this didn't look like that when you saw it, but the pen I was using for my spread on the next page bled through, and so I had to do some do some mending there. But I am quite content. I went with a Spirited Away theme / a mushroom theme because I had those stickers that I just fell in love with. And then the next page, the September page, it's looking a bit different from what you last saw because I did write quite a bit in it. But I'm so happy with it. It's the perfect kind of relaxing activity because portrait painting, although I really love it and it does give me a lot of peace, it can also be quite stressful because as a perfectionist, it has the potential to ruin my day. That just gets quite stressful at times, so I'm not always in the mood to do that. Finished Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I have not fully formed my thoughts yet because what I think the last time I spoke to you, I said I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was hoping. And that did kind of change because I read most of this book in a day, actually. I just sort of binged it suddenly because I got really invested in the story. It's so incredibly well written. Anne Rice is just a great writer, and the atmosphere is so gloomy. My issue is just I hated Louis, and I don't know if that is purposeful. I haven't seen enough people read it. Maybe I have to look into that, what the general consensus is on his character, but I really could not stand that man. I think he was so whiny. He kept putting all of his responsibility upon Lestat and the people around him and his circumstances, but he's kind of, and I think that comparison was even made in the book, but he's almost like a Hamlet sort of figure, so paralyzed by indecision that he causes inadvertently so many horrible things to happen to the people around him. But I think Louis was so much more insufferable than Hamlet was, because he just kept whining about things and causing all of these horrible things. And the one thing that I just couldn't forgive him for is the way Claudia was portrayed through him, the way he talked about her. And I think Claudia is such a tragic character, which of course is the point. That is the point in this story. It's not fun to read about though, which makes it kind of tough to get through at times. But I loved the parts where we got to see more vampires. I loved Armand, or Armand, however you actually say that man's name. I loved him. I think he has a book for himself, which I cannot wait to read. And I think I do want to continue on with him. I actually did buy The Vampire Lestat, the second one in this series, because that is what I'm trying to get to. Lestat was my favorite in this book. I don't know what that says about me, but I loved him. I think because, of course, he's a bad dude. Of course, he's a villain here, and he is not supposed to be anything but a villain. But I think he had it really badly, and he's not any worse than Louis, in my opinion. Louis is just as bad. He does just as bad of things, but Lestat doesn't whine about how bad he has it and how unfortunate his life is. Lestat is just, he's upfront about his badness, whereas Louis just has this huge ego and just wants to be this good figure, but just isn't, but can't really come to terms with that fact. It's just, I think, a personal thing. I just don't like people like Louis, and I prefer someone like Lestat who just doesn't hide the fact that they're bad and who doesn't really feel ashamed of that. I mean, of course, this is a book. I don't know how it would be if I knew those people in real life, but in a book, I just found Lestat so much more pleasant to read about and to experience, and so I cannot wait to actually read a book about him. Those were my very unformed and incoherent thoughts about the Vampire Chronicles, or Interview with the Vampire, which is the only one I've read so far. Good read, good atmosphere, great writing, complicated relationship to the characters though. One I did also want to talk to you about is I read, as we did not speak for quite a few days because again I got quite sick, but during that time I finished In the Company of Witches by Aurelie Wallace. I'm probably way too far away for you to see it, but it's this really, really fun and pleasant story of three witches who live in a small town running a B&B, and then suddenly a guest just basically gets murdered in their house, which is very unfortunate because one of the witches was just heard threatening that guest's life, basically. And so now she's the main suspect. And the book is basically about trying to get her not convicted of this murder she most likely did not commit. Although it sounds quite dark, it's also very pleasant. It's just very wholesome. At the beginning, I needed a bit of time to get used to the way it was written because it's not the kind of story I usually read. But I just loved it so much. It made me tear up at the end. It's the perfect mixture of these very dark themes combined with just this wholesome atmosphere. The family dynamics are so great to read about. I loved reading about the town. This is a book that just made me feel so pleasant all the way through. It made me so happy. When I was very happy about it. It was perfect for sickly little me who just needed a bit of a pick-me-up. Now, the highlight and the final thing I have to talk about. I decided I wanted to reread Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, one of my favorite books of all time. I am like 20 pages into it. I'm not into it far at all. I'm never not thinking about Frankenstein. It is one of the most profound reading experience I've ever had, and I just love that book so much. So many of those quotes just live rent-free in my head. I constantly think about them. There is a specific kind of magic about rereading a book that means so much to you, and it's just immediately... It's making me so happy, although it's such a sad book. It's so profoundly sad. So that is my little highlight currently. Actually, I lied. I have one more thing to say because I did try to start the audiobook for The Hunchback of Notre Dame or Notre Dame de Paris by Victor Hugo. I decided I wanted to listen to it on audio just because it's a kind of book where I was pretty sure it was going to make me quite sad just because of the themes, and I didn't want to read something that sad because this time of the year is my favorite time of the year, the wintry and fall months, and I don't want to read things during that time that make me feel bad. I don't know, it's like a holy time for me. I only want to read things that I really want to read and that make me feel good. And about the Hunchback, I just wasn't sure. So I decided to go with the audiobook, and I've decided I'm going to soft DNF it for now. I won't, I'm not going to say I'm never going to read that book, but it's not the right thing for me right now because I think I got up to chapter 5, which is where Quasimodo is introduced, and immediately I could just tell I got such a stomach ache just because it made me so sad. And I know this is weird coming from someone who's just literally talked about reading and loving Frankenstein, because I think, well, I haven't experienced The Hunchback, but I think the themes are quite similar, or at least I'm assuming. But I don't know. I can't stand that theme of the Hunchback of Notre Dame right now. I really liked Victor Hugo's writing, and that's making me quite glad that I experienced that, because now I know I'm gonna love Les Miserables, which is the one I probably want to pick up first. I think the Hunchback I'm just gonna table for now and maybe revisit at another time, maybe in a few months or years when I feel more up for the challenge. But for now, it's gonna make me feel so bad, and I don't want to feel bad right now. So yeah, it was an attempt, not a very successful one, but I do see the merit of that book, and I do want to read it at some point. We'll just see when I actually pick it up. Okay, that was really all. Thanks for listening.